Police say the vehicles involved were only two of hundreds that regularly take part in the sport on the island. Late last night, the two cars were allegedly racing along Heron Road when the 24-year-old driver of the Mitsubishi Magna made a U-turn in front of the Holden Gemini. The Georgetown man suffered an injured leg and abrasions. His passengers, a 19-year-old East Maitland woman and a 19-year-old Kurri Kurri man, received only minor injuries. The driver of the Gemini sustained severe head injuries and lacerations. He was taken to the John Hunter Hospital in a serious condition, along with his 20-year-old male passenger from Redhead who suffered abdominal injuries. Police say the site is a potential death trap for drag racers. 2 lives have already been lost. Concerned about the venue's increase in popularity and determined to prevent any more serious accidents, police are calling on authorities to help close the gates on drag racing.
We plan to get together with the private enterprise over there, the owners of the land, which is the Department of Public Works, and the council, so that we may arrive at some sort of physical barrier to actually prevent the racing.
The move follows a recent blitz on young drivers, a 4-day crackdown on noisy cars and screeching tyres in the inner city. And while police say legalising drag racing on closed roads is one option, that too has its problems.
Fellows with vehicles that are not up to scratch won't partake in that particular formalised area. They will find somewhere else. So that's a danger.
More than 100 surfers from the far south to the far north coast hit Soldiers Beach near Norah Head on the Central Coast over the weekend. After winning through from regional rounds, many were keen for a place in the New South Wales team headed for the national titles at Phillip Island in November. The surf wasn't big, but there was enough for longboard riders to show off both the traditional and changing styles of mal surfing. Peter Sharp won the 8-foot longboard division and Danny Bond from the Central Coast the Grand Masters. Newcastle's Mark Hancock won the 9-foot section. Jenny Sheehan won the women's division, Josh Ferris from Newcastle, Peter Hudson, Gary Taylor and Ken Williams, all from Port Macquarie, join a team of about 30 surfers for the national titles. Local players shone in the encounter with the combined Sydney Metro side. Curry centre Brian Quinton scored 2 tries, Cessnock's Trevor Crowe captained the country side well, and Maitland's Brett Christensen put points on the board with the boot. Country First led 10-6 at half-time. Sydney Metropolitan fought back heavily in the second half, but Country sealed the match in its last 10 minutes. Selectors had an eye on the match for a New South Wales residents team which will run out against Queensland during the State of Origin series. The Falcons set a blistering pace from the start, unsettling the Suns with 12 straight baskets. Derek Rucker would account for 40 points before the game was out, shooting with deadly accuracy from out wide and at close quarters. Suns coach Mark Bragg tried to rally his side, but the Falcons' onslaught continued with big Paul Kuiper and Derek Rucker never far from the action. By half-time, the Falcons had opened a 30-point lead on the Suns, but the Suns began to make adjustments in the third quarter, edging their way back. The Suns outscored the home side in the third, making up 20 points and pouring on the pressure. With 10 minutes to go, it was the cool hand of Mike Johnson that helped restore confidence. Marty McLean, Dozier and Rucker continued to hold the game just out of the Suns' reach. Final score, 115-105. It's one oversized trailer sailor heading from its Sydney boatyard to the Southport Yacht Club training compound. The operation is being carried out with military precision, the camouflage netting hiding what's described as Australia's secret weapon. The keel is covered, of course, but we're told the $2 million International America's Cup class yacht is built from lightweight carbon fibre and has been computer designed to match sailing conditions off San Diego. The convoy will overnight at Ballina and hit the road first thing in the morning for Southport.
All 8 courts at Taree have been resurfaced with the latest technology called FlexiPave. The perfectly level non-slip cushion surface is a far cry from the unlevel bitumen and slippery all-weather surfaces that the netballers used to play on. $15,000 of the $50,000 cost was funded by a government grant, with the remainder coming from the Taree and District Netball Association.
We only gave you just a little bit of money. You really raised a lot of the money, or most of the money yourselves. We were thankful that we could give you a bit to...
It took 2 weeks to lay the new surface just in time for the beginning of the netball season in March. The season will finish in September, and the sport may have a new star in MP John Turner, who tried his hand at netball. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News. Perfect conditions on the Manning River today as the veteran rowers went through their paces.
Course is excellent. It was a bit windy earlier on, but at the moment it's nice and smooth, which on the Manning was always like that.
32 clubs took part in the event, with 8 coming from Queensland. A massive 59 different events were contested in the championship. The 1 kilometre course stretched from Fotheringham Park to the Manning River Rowing Clubhouse. A presentation will be held at Taree RSL Club tonight, where it's expected to be Liniment City, as the older rowers overcome the inevitable aches and pains. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News.
A photo finish for second and third. The placings 10, 14 and 1. Paris Lane paid $12.80 and $3.90. Number 14 Our Fiction $8.50 and 1 Waikikamu Cow $2. The Quinella $157.80 and the Trifecta a whopping $4,905.60. At Rose Hill, eyes were on race 7, the Northside Gardens handicap over 1,200 metres. Placings 11, 4 and 13. Number 11 Osborne paid $7.40 and $2.80. Number 4 Red John paid $2.50 and 13 Duquel $13.30. The Quinella $30.40 and the Trifecta $575.90.
Step by step, move by move, this year's schools extravaganza is slowly taking shape. These dances are just part of the 2,500 strong cast of students preparing for Starstruck at the Entertainment Centre later this month. 14 choreographers have been given the job of making sure the program runs smoothly, and it's not an easy one.
Well, this is a nightmare of choreography. We've got kids from Taree, Belmont, Swansea, Jasmine, Lambton, and we're just putting it all together today, the final piecing together of the jigsaw.
It's well known rehearsals can have their ups and downs. One can even get dizzy with nerves. But at least there's one routine everyone agrees on. And so what's your prediction for Starstruck this year?
Top show.
Okay, that's great.
I'm sorry.
Oh, George! You know?
This is called Brisbane Waters, isn't it? Brisbane Waters, just things are in the way and then site.
4 days after the blaze, Bruce Fairley is trying to keep smiling.
Yeah, you've just got to face it, I guess, and do the best you can now. It's a big blow, though, to lose it all after we've been building it up for about 40 years.
Early on Monday morning, a fire ripped through the block containing a motorcycle shop, a removalist and a plastics fabrication factory. It's believed burglars started the fire after failing to break into a safe. The building was uninsured due to prohibitive premiums. The total damages bill, $2 million. It
was a big shock, 4:30 in the morning, to come down and see it all blazing up. We couldn't do anything about it, it was too far gone.
While Bruce leased out parts of the block, his company, Fairlight Plastics, lost all of its stock and most machinery. While the fire may have destroyed the building, it hasn't destroyed any of the business spirit. Within 24 hours of the blaze, Fairlight Plastics was up and running again, just down the road. The 5 workers are now busily rebuilding stock and chasing up new machinery. Bruce Fairley says he'll recover. Perhaps his greatest loss is a yacht he was building in the factory. 5 years in the making, it was to have been launched this week. Peter Ryan, NBN News. Plans for the $12 million golf course, clubhouse and tennis courts were put to council this week. The proposal to develop this 60-hectare site at Somersby just outside of Gosford. With council rejecting the plan, the developer Pros Toyota is going over local government's head to the state planning minister.
We're going to take this to Minister Webster for consideration, because we think that we're not being fairly dealt with.
Gosford Mayor Dirk O'Connor says Pros Toyota can say and do what it likes. Councillor O'Connor believes there are environmental concerns with runoff from the proposed development. Furthermore, he says the land should be used for farming, not golf.
We'd be losing our prime agricultural land, as defined by the Department of Agriculture. And this council has fought for, to my knowledge, for 11 years at least, to retain our prime agricultural land.
Pross Toyota owns the Terrigal Holiday Inn Crown Plaza. The company believes a golf course would be an environmentally friendly asset to the region. The development would create up to 100 jobs. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
From Bucks Pride, Bitmask going front past the 200. All our mob trying to get to it from Archie, Keelia and Flitter. All our mob and Bitmask together at 100 to go. All our mob and Bitmask. Flitter is flying on the outside. They hit it. Flitter, I think.
Number 8, Flitter, trained by Maxi Lees, took the money from All Our Mob and Bint Maskey. The Quinella $50.20, trifecta $747.40. To race 5 at Morpettville, the Goodwood handicap over 1,200 metres.
Police pulled over a car after a hold-up at the Windale Post Office and say they were threatened by a man with a shortened firearm. The gang scattered. Police closed roads as heavily armed officers searched bush near Charlestown, capturing the last man just on dark. The gang of 2 Queensland men and a man and a woman from Waratah is charged with the Windale Post Office robbery, as well as an earlier hold-up on a Broadmeadow newsagent. The group, also charged with firearm and car stealing offences, was refused bail and will remain in custody until a court hearing in Newcastle on Monday. "27-year-old Paul Fleming of the Caves Beach Club was about to make the final dash up the beach as his team's boat came ashore when he lost his footing and fell heavily on his back onto the sand. The lifesaver picked himself up and crossed the finish line, but soon after complained of a tingling sensation down one side and collapsed. Fearing a serious back injury, organisers called in the rescue helicopter. Paul was loaded onto the helicopter and taken to hospital for x-rays and later cleared of serious injury. He'd been competing in the A-grade final of the Newcastle Branch IRB Championship. A full report on the competition later in our news. It's the celebration of horses and the roles they play in one of the country's blue blood capitals. Horse heritage and the animal's contribution from pioneering days through to the rich sports and breeding industries was on parade through the town, which takes immense pride in its equine involvement. Australia's first light horse military regiment was drawn from the district. Other horses towed the clatter of commerce and settlement in their patient stride. The old Clydesdales again proved a crowd pleaser.
I think it's just their size and their gentle nature. They really are a nice, kind horse, and I think that's what gets the people in.
Organisers say crowd numbers were up for the parade and are looking forward to a week of celebrations and displays. The Australian Farrier and Blacksmith State Championships are in full swing. There are also a number of horse shows, art, craft and antique fairs. Another highlight will be popular tours of the area's horse studs.
We finish up the week in essence with the running of the Scone Cup Carnival, with the Scone Cup being run on Friday afternoon.
"26 children aged from 0 to 5 are already enrolled in Williamtown's new long daycare centre. Most of them were there today, pushing the new equipment to the limit. Defence Minister Gary Punch joined in the fun as he officially opened the centre.
Our people are very crucial and are going to become even more important. So anything that makes their life easier is something that the government's very, very happy to deliver.
Before this year, service mums and dads had to take their children to the nearest centre, which took more than an hour in driving time each day. Service personnel have been lobbying since the 1980s for a daycare centre on base. Unfortunately for some, the opening today has come a few years too late. You were in fact trying when your first child was eligible for it.
Yes, and I've missed out on that, but luckily my daughter Lindsay's there for this year, and those that follow along behind me will have all those benefits and not have to worry about finding childcare each time they move around.
Meantime, local MP Bob Horn was also at Williamtown to launch the Families Information Kit.
The Families Information Kit is precisely what it's named. It's there, it identifies every form of federal government assistance for families.
The free kit is available from Mr Horn's office. Jason Jornhoff, NBN News. David Waite was a pleased man today, with his team sitting just one win out of the top 5 after thrashing Parramatta 34-4 yesterday.
Obviously the result was the most important thing. Each week you have to pick up the 2 points, and I'm pleased to say that we eventually did that yesterday. It was a great second half performance, but it was probably what most people would call a fairly ugly game in the first half.
One of the standouts in the match was Newcastle's Paul Harrigan. It's almost a foregone conclusion these days that the powerful forward will be picked for the State of Origin team. What isn't as clear-cut is the chances of outstanding hooker Robbie McCormack and prop Mark Sargent. Their coach David Waite thinks they both deserve to be in the team. So do you think Robbie or Mark Sargent deserve to be in the team?
Yeah, well, I certainly do, on form, and that's what I mean. I think it's a little harsh on the blokes who are putting in.
Their non-selection may be a blessing in disguise as they bolster an already drained forward pack to play the Gold Coast this weekend. Harrigan will be out training with the Blues. Tony Butterfield is still suspended, while Mark Glanville will not play after suffering ligament damage to his ankle yesterday. Jason Jornhoff, NBN News.
As this house in Curry Street, Merriweather, burned on October the 9th last year, 34-year-old Paul Lucas lay inside. A neighbour, Brian McMahon, saw the smoke and called the fire brigade. Realising the man was in the house, Brian broke the door down and went in.
The guy was in the hallway down towards the fire, and I just ran in and dragged him out.
Paul Lucas received third-degree burns to most of his body but survived. Today, the fire brigade commended Mr McMahon for his bravery.
I feel as though I haven't done anything, people say, oh, but you have, so I think I just reacted at the time.
That wasn't the view of off-duty firefighter John Hartley, who praised Brian's efforts.
Very heroic, actually. Like, it's hard enough to go into a fire when you've got all the firefighting equipment on. To go in with a pair of shorts on, it gets incredibly hot.
The fire brigade also acknowledged John Hartley's contribution that morning. He helped fight the fire and administer first aid to the injured man. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
It was a packed house at Harker Oval for the clash of Newcastle League's big guns. Both teams were sitting equal first on the ladder before the showdown, but it soon became clear West would move a rung higher. Rosella's captain Neil Baker began the tri-fest in the first 5 minutes, with this crossfield kick finished off by Tony McDonnell. A missed opportunity shortly after proved crucial to Curry. Captain coach Steve Linnane executed one of his classic chip and regathers before making a flick pass to 5'8" Daryl Johnston. Ashley Gorton knocked down this pass to stop a certain try. It was the only chance the Bulldogs had to put up a fight. West went on with a try to Steve Villette after Tony Price squeezed through 2 defenders. And Neil Baker set up another try, passing to Steve Story, who dummied to go in under the posts. After round 7, the table shows West's on top, followed by Curry, Toronto, Lakes and Maitland. Most teams still have a chance of making the top 5 at this stage of the season. However, the woes of the Butcher Boys continue. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News.
Okay, up we go.
That's a boy. In here. In here's a good man. Good boy.
People do it, so why not pets? Gogo's mobile pet parlour started pampering everything from pooches to pussycats 4 weeks ago, and business is booming.
We come to your house, into your driveway. We help ourselves to water and electricity, and half an hour later or an hour later, depending on how much you want done to your dog and what sort of breed it is, of course, the dog comes out looking and feeling beautiful, and we go and the dog's done. No, not yet, but it's amazing how many people actually ask me that, but I haven't, never been bitten yet.
So no complaints from the clientele. And with prices comparable to your average parlour, no complaints from those footing the bill.
Umina is best known for its golden beaches and relaxing lifestyle. The local field is a far cry from the Sydney Football Stadium, with a solitary post marking one end of the ground. But this laid-back approach to life may be the very reason why Gaia opted for the tiny town until he joins the Western Reds next year. But the locals at the Umina Beach Bowling Club are divided on whether they want this glamour player from the city.
I think that Mark Guy is one of the best professional rugby league players in Australia.
It'll be a good thing for the district, I think.
He might just find it a little bit tougher than what he thinks.
Well, you've got a team there that's playing top football, haven't you? So why worry about anyone else? And you wouldn't buy a comp, you play from the locals.
But there's one man who's definitely happy, club president Mick Yall, who surely scored the coup of the season.
Tremendous. We're very, very happy to have him here. I think he's going to be an enormous asset to the club.
Yall says Gaia wasn't lured to the red and green of the local Rabbitohs by a big money offer. The footballer was attracted by his family and friends in the area. It's another episode in a career of dramatic highs and lows for the footballer, which has included appearances in grand finals and fiery displays in state of origin bouts. And who knows, Gaia may just get used to the waves and Umina Oval, and the Western Reds may have to wait a little longer for its big-name star. Richard O'Leary, NBN News. It was just before 4 in the morning. Two men wearing balaclavas walked into the mobile station at Glendale and demanded money. One of the bandits was carrying a sawn-off shotgun. He threatened the attendant. Frustrated, the thieves grabbed cigarettes and a small amount of money from the cash register.
They appeared to be very calm while they were doing the robbery. It lasted for 60 seconds exactly. And they didn't seem too perturbed about it.
This is the third robbery at the Main Road Mobile in Glendale in 18 months. The attendant was in shock today. He is to receive counselling. Police are asking for anyone who may have noticed something around the time of the robbery to come forward.
Anyone that was around the Glendale area about 4:45 this morning that may have seen a white Corolla speeding off from the service station or in that vicinity, if they could contact Wallsend detectives, we'd be most grateful.
It's believed this robbery may be linked with another at the Ampol service station in Argenton last Friday morning. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Hours before they were due to strut their stuff for their opening night audience, the cast gave a sneak preview of the musical's final number. One demands a diamond-sharp performance, the chorus line that ends a chorus line, a great test for the entire cast. Just see for yourself.